Hello, everyone. Today we have again a special guest, Dr. Daniela Farkas, and today we'll talk about a very interesting topic: accumulation of toxin in between cells, specifically due to leaky gut. Thank you, Dr. Farkas, for joining us today.
I thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and the first question about this topic is why do we need to get rid of toxins between cells?
In order to answer this question, it's very important to understand that each cell in the body functions like a little factory. Different cells are grouped together, or specific cells are grouped together into tissue. And a tissue usually have very similar cells that produce similar products and require similar functions. Um, the cells do not live in isolations. Like, for example, a nerve cell communicate with a muscle cell so we could have movement. Otherwise, we do not have movement. So the communication between the cells is absolutely important. Um, the communication between cells is done via three known mechanisms. If it is more, probably, but we know about three. We know about electrical impulses, chemical impulses, and magnetic impulses. Um, if there is garbage in between the or accumulation of toxins around the cells, that particular cell will not be able to communicate with its neighbor, and the function of the tissue, if enough toxins accumulate, the function of the tissue will be shut down. So it is extremely important to clean in between the cells. The body provided a different mechanism only to try to accumulate excessive um, um, toxins or excessive excessive chemicals in order to keep the cells clean. For example, uh, besides the vascular system, we have something called lymphatic system that accumulate every single day about 2 to 3 liters of dissolved solids in the blood and take it to different channels to be clean and disposed of. Not only that the body has that, but the brain, being such an important organ, besides the lymphatic, has its own cleaning system called lymphatic. And it is an extremely specialized system that was discovered actually only a few years ago. We didn't even know about this system. And it is designed to keep house clean. So yes, communication between the cells is of paramount importance in order to keep the organism as a whole working properly.
Yeah, and please tell us what is the main source of the debris between cells?
By far, the number one source of debris, it comes from our gut. By far, by the order of magnitude. And many of those debris are termed lipopolysaccharides or LPS. Dr. Stephen Gundry termed them little pieces of shit. That's exactly what they are, lipopolysaccharides. And those toxins originate from excess eating, like we eat too much and we eat the wrong foods. And not only that it's too much, but it's also the wrong foods. So that is by far the main source of toxins that accumulate in between the cells. And actually in the cells too, but we're talking about the in between, in the interstitial tissue.
Yeah, and when you tell us about the wrong food, what are you talking about? What kind of food?
Hmm.
Wrong, wrong. Fast food, what kind of sugar?
Wrong food, first of all, the foods could be good for us and could be bad for us. If we eat good food, but we eat extremely large quantity, the excess becomes extremely bad for us. So it's not only the quality of the food, but it's also
Quantity.
the quality of the food. The good foods would be plants and vegetables, fruits. Those are good fruits. They are created by nature. Nuts are excellent. Some nuts, not all of the nuts are good. Uh, they are created by nature, and our body could utilize them very, very well. Fish, it's an unbelievable good source of food. Um, Meat, like for example, grass raised beef, it's excellent. Chickens that do see the light every day and are able to roam freely in the backyard are an unbelievable good source of protein. Plants are a good source of protein, some of them, but yes, there are mainly whole foods, mainly foods that you know how to pronounce and they are not made in the lab. By the way, I just realized that in Israel now they put amino acids and they ask the artificial intelligence to group them together and then they print steaks or
Wow,
fish.
this
So
is the new trend in
thanks to artificial intelligence. And we think that we are eating fish, and it does have the components and the amino acids and everything that the fish would have. But this meat was never in the water, did never see the ocean or the river. And it was instantly grown in a lab and instantly printed as a steak or as a fillet by a 3D printer computer. So, yes, it's a new world we're living in.
very interesting topic. Maybe we'll talk about this in another video. So, get back to our topic for this video about leaky gut. Can you explain in more details what leaky gut is,
Absolutely.
please?
From mouth to the rectum, we have a tube.
Yes.
That this tube is selectively prepared with different mechanism. For example, in the mouth, we have something called which is having enzymes that start the digestion straight from the mouth. Uh, the food goes after that into a tube that connects, it's called esophagus, that connects the mouth to the stomach. And once the stomach receives the bolus of food, it starts to act on it by disinfecting the food. It does that by using hydrochloric acid and this and others, but the hydrochloric acid has a pH that is very, very low. It uh, it has a pH of about 1.5 to 2, and it helps digest the proteins. It's excellent. It sterilizes like pretty much any bacteria we eat unintentionally. It will be cut down and neutralized by the stomach. But once it leaves the stomach, it goes into what is called small and then large intestines. Now, especially the large intestine is equipped with different types of bacteria and different types of mechanism that will absorb many of the nutrients that we ate in that food in order for us to thrive. In between uh, the intestine and the blood, there is one single layer of skin that separates us from the bacteria that grow in the gut by the order of billions. And the body does not mix them together because many of the bacteria that grow in the gut are very toxin to us as an organism. So we are always careful to try to not mix together anything. What happens? This single layer of cells have a little space in between that some of the nutrients that are wanted by the body will go through and dissolve through the cell, being helped and go straight into the bloodstream. From there, they go to the liver. That's it. That is the number one step. So what happens? Uh, this junction in between the cell, many times it is compromised and it's made larger by some of the chemicals that we eat. Once it made larger, what happens? Bacteria that are on one side of the wall that we do not want, uh, or parts of the bacteria, like pieces of bacteria, are going to leak through the junction or the little holes that are created into this one layer cell and end up in the blood. We call those lipopolysaccharides because they are not exactly bacteria, they are fragments of bacteria. Since they are fragments of bacteria, they will deposit in different parts. Some of the lipopolysaccharides have a predilection for joints, for example, let's say a knee joint. So they will go and deposit themselves in the knee joint. Guess what? Our body is equipped with an immune system that is like a surveillance and an army. And the army, what it does, it tries to get rid of any bacteria or any invader, a virus, a bacteria, a parasite that makes it into the tissue, protect us. And since that is a surveillance going on 24/7, it realizes that something foreign that looks like parts of bacteria deposited on the joint. Well, the body does not start to analyze if it is a complete bacteria or only parts of bacteria because lipopolysaccharides originated from the gut. And it will say fire, friendly fire, trying to kill the enemy. In doing that, they say fire and it destroys the body. So it destroys, in this case, the joint. This is the source of what is called autoimmune disease. All the autoimmune diseases that I know of originates and have the origin in the leaky gut. Uh, there are autoimmune diseases that starts because of mutation of at the DNA level, but those are less than 1%. Many people do not have that. But arthritis, for example, pretty much everybody that's old enough has it. And the reason they have it is because these lipopolysaccharides that do deposit in different organs. If it would deposit like on the thyroid, the person would have Hashimoto or autoimmune disease of the thyroid. If it deposits in the cells in the blood, the cells in the blood will have the friendly fire and it will be an autoimmune. If it would deposit on the pancreas, the person would have diabetes and so on. So yes, those lipopolysaccharides, although are tiny and they look pretty innocent, oh boy, they could create fire. Unknown caller. Please give me 1 second. Take a little break. I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, so we'll continue this discussion a few minutes later. And I must tell you that Dr. Daniela Farkas is the author of the book The End of Aging. And this book is available on Amazon. So try to buy this book from Amazon. Welcome back. So we have another question about this very interesting topic. Um, and this is, what does those ILPS or lips polysaccharides
This
and yes, yes, yes.
So, what does this lipopolysaccharides create?
Yeah.
They do create autoimmune diseases. Many times they do not reach the level of autoimmune disease, but they do create inflammation. And many times this inflammation is a low grade sterile inflammation, and it does create pain, and it's a marker of aging. Yes.
Very.
Nobody those. Something we do not want them.
Yeah. And beside the LPS, lectins also add affect us. What is lectins?
Oh, lectin. I hope I'm going to talk to you about lectin in a different um,
Yeah.
session, because lectins are something created by plants. It's a molecule, and a plant may have like 1,000 different molecules. Some of them are unbelievable good for us, and some of them are not that good for us. For example, uh, plants want to protect themselves against radiation, and would manufacture a pigment that would prevent radiation attack on the baby plant. Uh, One of those is called resveratrol, for example. Um, if we eat that particular lectin, the same benefit that the plants get as a protective mechanism against the rays, we're going to get it too from the plant because we eat the same lectin. Excellent. But some of the lectins are not so innocent. For example, gluten. It's a well known lectin, and many people try to stay away from gluten. And the reason is that gluten is considered a lectin that makes the body sensitive to touch. And some lectins have a lectin that if you touch, it will cause something called contact dermatitis, where the body is going to swell up. It doesn't like to be touched. And the body creates this protein or this lectin to protect itself, and it does a very good job. Except that if we touch that plant, we're going to suffer the consequences. Yeah, so lectins are proteins created by plants for their benefit. Those benefits could be good for us or could be bad.
Sure,
As they
we'll talk about this topic in another video. And in the end, please tell us few words about your book, The End of Aging. What is about?
The End of Aging is a book that I wrote because I saw what happened in my own practice. I have many patients that come in that are my age, some of them are younger, that look very good. I also have others that look like death turned over. And it always shocked me. Why do some people, by the time they are 50 or 60, carry with them a bag of medication to keep them alive? Or have so many diseases that, I don't have room in the chart to put all the diseases they have. And some seem to cruise through life like unbelievable good. What's the difference? And I started researching this subject, and I decided to write about it in this book, The End of Aging, because in it I did identify the pillars that aging rests on, and steps that we could do to stop it at every single level in its track. My hope for myself and for everybody I love and I know is not necessarily to live a very long life. It is to live a very good life. Hopefully, it will be a long and good life, but definitely, I would not sacrifice quality for quantity. Um, I also work in the hospital, and I see people that are kept alive by artificial means. And to me, this is such a curse. This is such a curse because if I have an animal like a dog, I would not keep him alive and suffering like I saw people in the nursing home and in the hospital sufferings. If I know that there is no end to suffering and the only hope they have is to die soon, this is not life. This is a curse. And I think that people are able to prevent this curse by taking care of themselves. And that's why I wrote the book, to teach people how to take care of their body, starting with the steps that affect them from a medical standpoint. So, yes, this is the book.
Great. So, if you want to live a quality a life, you must buy this book. The End of Aging is available on Amazon. Thank you, Dr. Farkas. This was a great discussion, and thank you very much for your time. And we'll see in future videos. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Take care.
Also, thank you. Thank you very much.